don't know, maybe you guys could just tell me what exactly they did here.
Or didn't do?
Or didn't do.
Probably more like it. It was more like a home makeover than it was a bar rescue.
Yeah.
They just basically changed the floor plan a little by putting a dance floor in. They painted, they did a mural. They put some really cool sinks in.
It definitely brought us all closer together, everybody that was on the show. That was, I think that's a big thing for all of us.
I said to myself, like, why isn't this place busy? Because I think it's amazing. Like, we have great bands. It's right on the beach. We have the best view. The fireworks are always right in front of us. We have a tiki bar. That's amazing. Like, I found that it was like the gem that nobody knew about.
This is Oakland Beach and we love coming to Marleys, you know what I mean? Like, I live down the street and I still come to Marleys, you know? Everybody comes to Marleys. It's a great beach bar. People sit down by the fire pit. It's awesome.
What John wanted to do with the total, like the different outfits and different menus is totally unrealistic.
So the menu was super yummy, tasted very good. The problem is John totally contradicted himself because he was like, oh, we need, you know, food with knives and forks during the day and like clean food at night.
They gave us a daytime menu and they gave us a nighttime menu because at a certain point in the night they wanted Michelle to designate between daytime beach bar and nighttime beach club.
And then he gave us like jerk spice wings for night, which are messy.
Well, not only did they cut our menu down to about, what, 5, 6 items?
And then he also gave us a shrimp dip that you have to eat with like a fork. There was nothing to eat it with. Yeah. So
it was delicious.
It didn't
with the
make any sense that he even said that. Like, oh, at night you don't want forks and knives and you don't want it messy, because it was messy and you needed forks and knives.
Oh, you guys don't have clam cakes? We're a Rhode Island restaurant. Yes, we're a bar, but we serve food and can easily walk next door and give our lovely Dave business, whereas we needed it. So like, why? Or across the street. So I mean, it just, the 2 menu idea didn't necessarily make a ton of sense. The food though, as they all said, it was delicious. The swordfish, and I don't like fish, was out of this world, but you know, it just didn't make sense for us.
In regards to the kitchen, I think that our kitchen was lacking a direction in which they were going to go. I think that John did rally our kitchen staff, whether it was Diana, who ended up leaving us, or Joey.
And you know, I'm going to tell you guys right now again on camera, Diane is a great person. She's a great cook. She's better than most cooks in this place now. I don't question that. What I do question is she needs to watch her back. She needs to be there for her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bottom line, Michelle pays her. So she should say, Michelle, whatever you want, I'm going to use my skills for you.
Yep.
And she failed. That set me off. The least thing. I came in here the night after and said, give me a bottle of wine. I'm done with this whole production. When I was in the trailer, I was behind the scenes, so I had VIP access. So I would watch all the producers. They had like 4 TV screens. And they had mics on everybody. They had all undercover people in here. No one would ever know. So I watched everything, and when they sabotaged Elise that night and put her in, gave her, I don't know, 20 tables, which I never heard of.
Her and I both had 20 tables.
20 tables each, but then they took her 10 tables and made them move position.
Agreed.
I stood up in the camera room and said, that's bull. You're sabotaging her. I had security escort me out.
And I just have to say, it's really funny because I actually came in Sunday night, the first night that we taped, and I was here for the first stress test. And as far as fabrication goes, it was really funny because when they shut down the kitchen, I didn't know that was fabricated. So I was all stressed out, like, oh my God, we must suck that bad. Our kitchen got shut down. Then later that night, I talked to the kitchen and they were telling me how, like, oh no, that's like, that was all fake, you know? Like, they were testing clam cake batter, not chowder, and like, you know, obviously if a burger is at 60 degrees, it's basically raw, so that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, well, that's messed up. So then that night they told me not to come back the next day, and I was like, wow, I must have done something so horribly wrong. Like, I must be that bad that they never want to see me again. And So then when I found out what happened the next day with Elise, I was like, oh, that's why, because if there were 3 of us on, it would have been harder to set her up and make her fail. So then I had to be like, oh, I came from Iggy's. By the way, thanks, Dave.
So it was kind of funny to play the part as the new bartender, you know, but I mean, you go with it, man. They're telling you, hey, you're the rockstar bartender, this is the part you play. So I'm like, okay, cool, sweet. Hi, welcome. I'm so glad to be part of the team. This is awesome.
My favorite thing was that they hired a manager for me from Iggy's that as soon as the episode was over, so they had me fire my assistant manager. Then they hired me a manager from Iggy's that the next day went back to Iggy's and left me without a manager. So I had to work straight from the time we opened to the time we closed for 3 weeks straight. I thought I was going to go absolutely insane.
Before you hired?
Right. And then when Dave from the producer called me and said, so how's it working out with the manager? I said, you do know that they just borrowed him for the day, right? And he's like, oh, they didn't hire him for you? I'm like,
It wasn't real. It wasn't like how we normally operate. I mean, everyone was on their best, I guess,
behavior.
Yeah, best behavior. I mean, obviously we all have flaws. We all do different things behind the bar. We all make different drinks regardless of whatever the recipe is.
Right.
But in the long run, I mean, Michelle's been there. She's been the backbone.
I was actually going around apologizing to everybody, saying this isn't how it usually is, I'm really sorry, you know, and everybody's like, no, that's fine, but that's what they're going to show me going around talking to people, but they're not going to be able, you're not going to hear what I'm saying. No, I was just apologizing to everybody. It was ridiculous.
They did not set us up for success. On opening night, we all came in and we were so excited. We wanted to see our new bar. We were excited for opening day. We're like, this is what makes it all worth it. So we filmed all day long, saw all the crappy stuff that they did that was not that exciting. And then they were like, okay, time to get ready to open up. So we're like, okay, this is when it gets real. We had 10 minutes. About an hour into it, I realized that it was exactly the same BS that they had done to us the previous 2 nights. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, I am so upset because I still have customers who are upset. I still have customers who want to leave. I had to apologize to pretty much every single customer I had. I had to tell them, listen, this is for a show. Please come back when the show is not taping, because this is not what we're really like. And at one point during the night, John Taffer came over with like his little look that he does, his serious face, and he started walking behind the bar and he's like, so how are these tickets coming out, Sue-Ann, talking about like our service tickets and whether the bartenders were making them. And I just gave him like the dirtiest scowl ever, because I'm like, are you really asking me that when you're pulling our bartenders every 5 minutes and you just gave us 300 people? Do you think that they're coming out in 5 minutes? Really?
When he came behind the bar and was yelling, and they were like, yeah, and then he'd walk away and they were like, we are so, like, whole row of people, like, we are so sorry. You guys are busting your asses. Please, they coached it, like, we had to sign an agreement, like, just keep doing what you're doing. We love you guys. You guys are awesome. We're coming back no matter what. Like,
oh yeah.
Don't take anything we say seriously.
I just like the customers with the full drinks in their hand, and he comes out and says, who doesn't have drinks? And everyone raised their hands.
They all have drinks in their hands.
Like, I don't really know how I feel about Bar Rescue. I don't know to this day, and it's been
by the end
2
of the
months.
by the end of the taping, when I was standing there and we were wrapping it up, I was just done. I was totally done. But the funniest part was when John Taffer came up to me in the middle of all the chaos, after I already came out and screamed at the people to get, you know, to send people in from my tiki bar because nobody was getting served. And I went back in there and we were frazzled. There's 380 people. People still weren't happy. John Taffer comes up to me and says, so hey, this is great, right? I was like, and I just look around and he's like,
is this a joke?
He goes, yep. He goes, look what we accomplished. We got all the people in here. And he's like, I deserve a hug. I was like, yes. If that will get you out of here, yes, you deserve a hug. If you leave, I promise to hug you. Go. All right, when we were doing the drink specials, they created the St. Michelle Sangria. So one night I was sitting home and I started thinking about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what they're going to name my bar. I know they are. So I called Dave and I said, what are they going to name my bar? Because I knew the awning was already up because some people had told me that they drove by and they saw an awning. And he's like, I can't tell you. And I said, well, just tell me one thing. All I want you to do is say no. I said, is the name St. Michelle? And he's like, I can't say that. So I sat there all day, and then we got blindfolded, and we brought over the van, so I knew what the name was going to be the whole time. I didn't say anything to anybody, but I kind of knew what it was. And we all got out of the van, and...
Wait, can I just say one thing on camera? It's on our Facebook, I think. But before they got out of the van, they all flipped me off.
So we all got out of the van. We were all blindfolded. We got out of the van. We were all turned around. And when they said to turn around, we all turned around and we all went, what? Oh. And he said, nope, got to do it again. And we ended up doing it like 6 times before you got the right reaction. And at that point, we just wanted to get it over with. So we were all like, you know, overly excited about it.
I was across the street with Mike, and when they did the unveil, Mike looked at me and goes, Dave, aren't they supposed to be like, ooh, wow. And Mike actually helped these guys because Mike was a builder. So they asked Mike everything about the place. But when you guys turned around, Mike looked at me and says, is there supposed to be sound?
Yeah.
So like, I said, Mike, I don't know, this don't look too good.
We all turned around, we all just looked at it, we're like, okay.
We're all trying to figure out what the heck that weird shape was around him. Like, what was that?
I think the publicity's key. I think it's definitely the #1 asset to come out of this whole thing. I think a lot of the ideas they had were great, but they didn't implement them well. Like she just said, the furniture, for instance, this is house furniture. It should be commercial furniture, so it's a great thought, but it wasn't implemented properly. The publicity is great. I think the whole flow of the inside is awesome. I think the way they situated the dance floor and putting the DJ booth in the corner and keeping a circular pattern, I think that's great. Once again, it wasn't implemented properly. The dance floor's falling apart. The railings were supposed to be steel, which they told me as being the landlord, they didn't do. The light show was hung by my worker because they were too cheap to install it properly. So I mean, there's a lot of good things, but there's also a lot of bad things.
My positives are a little different. My positives are that I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, you guys didn't need bar rescue. You were great the way you were. And a lot of people now ask to talk to me because they want to talk about how much they like it, opposed to the only time I ever heard from anybody is when it was like a negative thing about food or something like that. But now everybody wants to talk to me to tell me either A, how much they liked it, or B, now how much they finally came here and now how much they enjoy it. So that is a positive for me.
Michelle's been here day in and day out, and I think that deserves a lot of credit. I think she has heart, and I think that she has a passion for this place, and that's what I see.
I've had 1,000 jobs, and this is by far the best boss I've ever had in my life.
Ever. She goes out of her way to make us feel wanted and loved and feel like we do a good job.
Yeah.